Howdy. Welcome to Someone Should Know. I'm your host, Lydia Schock. Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Someone Should Know. Come on in. I'm having so much fun with this podcast, you guys. I hope that y'all are having fun listening to it. You know, I'm definitely not breaking any records in terms of like streams or whatever, but that was never my purpose. That was never my intention. And I'm just having so much fun. And so it's just, you know, a good reminder of just do it because you love it and because it fills your cup. And that's how I'm feeling right now. It's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. Like, I work full time. I've got like a house and a husband and like a whole life outside of this podcast. But it was like really important to me that I did this and that I figured out how to shave out time for it. And so, yeah, we're doing the damn thing and I'm having so much fun with it. So I hope you guys are enjoying listening every week. Don't forget to follow along on social media. Most of it is at Someone Should Know Podcast. TikTok is at someoneshouldknow.pod because TikTok will like not let me change it to Someone Should Know Podcast. I don't know why. Let me know if you know how to fix that on TikTok. All right, so today we're talking energy vampires. We're going to talk about what the hell is an energy vampire, a couple examples, common examples that you maybe have experienced in your own life, and some tools that are necessary for dealing with people like that. Tools that will help you protect your peace, tools that will help you reduce and or remove your access from those people altogether. So buckle up as we talk energy vampires, because today someone should know that it is your responsibility to protect your peace from people that drain you of it. Because let's be real, not all villains wear capes. In fact, most of them don't. A lot of them text, "Are you up?" at 11 p.m. So let's start with the basics. What is an energy vampire? So I did not coin this term. I actually don't know who coined the term. I didn't look it up before this video, but feel free to look it up and let me know in the comments who coined this term. But an energy vampire is somebody who takes your emotional, mental, and spiritual energy without giving it back. I saw a picture once that explained energy vampires so perfectly, and I will post it to Someone Should Know socials so you guys can check it out and kind of put a visual to what I'm about to explain here. But I saw this visual once that perfectly explained what an energy vampire is. And if you think of energy as like an exchanging of constellations, right? Like, I have my own universe with stars and planets, and you have your own universe with stars and planets, and it's an exchanging of those constellations. I'm giving you stars and you're giving me stars, and my galaxy is more beautiful and your galaxy is more beautiful, and that is a healthy exchange of energy. An energy vampire is like a black hole where they just take your stars, they take your planets, and they don't do anything to replenish your galaxy. Gosh, what a perfect analogy. I think I nailed that. So that is an energy vampire, is somebody who takes our stars, they take our emotional, our spiritual, mental energy, and they don't give anything back in return. So when dealing with these people, big picture, protect your peace by any means necessary. Even if that means blocking them, even if that means walking away from a relationship of X amount of years, walking away from family, putting distance between you and that person. First and foremost, you have to protect your peace. It is your responsibility. It is your duty to yourself. So I want to talk about a couple different energy vampires that I've encountered in my life, some common ones that I know a ton of people have encountered. I've talked to so many friends and family members about different energy vampires, and, you know, it seems like all of us have experienced at least one of these, at one time or another, and I'm sure there's so many more. These are just a few examples that I thought of. So let's dive right into a couple examples of energy vampires, what that might look like, maybe to help keep you churning in your brain to think about who in your life might be an energy vampire and some red flags that you might be missing. So let's run through a few of these types of people and some tools and tips that we can use when dealing with each different archetype. Again, I'm sure there's a million more. These are just a couple that I thought of. So let's start with maybe like maybe not the most common one, but like for my girls that are in the dating scene, maybe the most most pertinent one at the time. The fuckboy vampire. Yeah. The fuckboy vampire, I fear many of us have encountered this one. So some of the traits that I wrote down here for fuckboy, we know it. We love it. Well, breadcrumbing, mixed signals, keeping you on the hook, draining you of your self-esteem, lying to you, pitting you against other women. So the fuckboy, many of us have dealt with it. And my biggest piece of advice for you is to walk away. Walk away. I don't really have any type of special magic there. I really just, you need to walk away and you need to have enough self-respect for yourself to know that that behavior is unacceptable. So I have a story here for you. So I met my husband when I was 18. So I, thank God, wasn't in the dating scene like super long. But I definitely encountered a fuckboy. I had a boyfriend before Sean who I was head over heels for, it was like my first love kind of thing. And, I was naive and thinking that we were going to be together for like ever. And it was like, oh my gosh, right? Anyway, so he goes off to college and like literally he was gone for about 5.5 days. And in those days, he had, hooked up, had some kind of thing with this chick that he met on campus. And so literally dropped him off at school. He comes back a week later for my birthday, no less. He came home to quote unquote celebrate my birthday. And instead he came home to break up with me because he told me that, he, had met this girl and they had like a conversation under the moon. And it was like, really. And I'm going to level with you guys. I'm going to be real. I did not handle that well. And like looking back, I like cringe because Lydia now is just so much stronger and she has so much more self-respect and self-love that I like to think I wouldn't handle it that same way today. But, that's life. And, we look back and we reflect and we're like, ooh, I'm going to do that different next time. But, well, hopefully there's not a next time, Sean. But I did not handle that well. I was definitely, too emotional in my opinion. And I was trying to convince him that like it was me and, just embarrassing, honestly, to talk about it. But, that's, again, this is the podcast is like, I'm just going to talk about all the embarrassing shit I've ever done in my life to hopefully make you feel less embarrassed about the shit that you've done in yours. But I did not handle that how I would have liked to. And I kept going back to him for like about a month, maybe month and some change. Like we were kind of on again, off again. Like we would stop talking for a week and then like he would come back into town and we would hook up and then we would be like kind of back together for a week, but like not really because he was still talking to that other chick. And then we broke up for a little bit longer and then we, tried to get back together. It was just like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And honestly, I don't know how long I was willing to allow that to go on for. And it wasn't until this moment that I'm about to tell you about where I was finally like, I'm embarrassed for myself at this point. So, one of our like snaps, we're like talking, right? And he's like, I've got like this thing I've got to go do, but then like we're going to link up later tonight and like I want to work on us and I want to figure this out and whatever, saying all the things that like I wanted to hear at that time. And so we separate, he goes and does his thing. Like we're only supposed to be separated for a couple hours and then he's supposed to come back and we're supposed to like have our talk, right? Well, that's not the case. I literally don't hear from him again until like the next day, like the middle of the day, the next day. So I mean, we go like 24 hours I don't hear from him. And I was literally supposed to see him that night, the night prior. And so that next day, after I had just fucking stupidly and embarrassingly waited up all fucking night for him, like waiting for the call, right? Like typical fuckboy, like fucking said he would call, he didn't call, liar. So I'm like waiting up all night. And then I get up the next morning and I'm like just heartbroken all over again. And I'm kind of disappointed in myself because I, again, waited up all night like an idiot. And I like get on Snapchat and I see that he like posted to a Snapchat story and I clicked on it and it was a picture of him in bed with this other woman that, we've been going back and forth on. And it was that moment of looking at that Snapchat that I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm fucking done. I don't ever want to fucking talk to you again. This is stupid. This is stupid. Like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? How little self-respect do I have for myself that I allow somebody that supposedly cares about me to treat me like that? How asinine ridiculous. Like, I actually was upset with myself at that point. Like, finally, I had reached a point of like, Lydia, I'm fucking done with you. It didn't even have anything to do with him at that point. It had everything to do with me and everything to do with like, I know I deserve better than this, and this is just fucking stupid. So that day, I had one like final conversation with him. It's not important. We had one last conversation, and that was it. Like after we talked, I was done. Like that was, and I knew when I was talking to him that would be the last time I talked to him, and I was not interested in ever revisiting this literally ever again. Have a nice life. Fuck off. And yeah, and I blocked him I blocked his phone number. I blocked all of his social medias. I blocked his roommate. I blocked his roommate's girlfriend. I blocked his roommate's girlfriend's roommate. I blocked his mom. I literally blocked people who even just went to the same school as him. Like people that did nothing to me, but they just happened to have chosen that university. And I didn't even want to see that stupid fucking school come across my feed. So I'm sorry, but you got to go. You got to go because it's time for me to protect myself, something I should have done weeks ago. But the lesson here, it's never too late. It is never too late to choose yourself. So if you're dealing with a fuckboy, and maybe you've been dealing with a fuckboy a lot longer than I did. I dealt with it for 4-5 weeks or so after we had broken up as boyfriend and girlfriend, and then the kind of quote unquote fuckboy era happened. So a couple weeks, but I know for a fact some of you ladies have been fucking around with these boys for a lot longer than that. Months, maybe even years. Girl, stop. Please stop. If you are listening to this right now, and that is you, and you are being strung along and breadcrumbed by a fuckboy, please stop. You're missing opportunities to meet really amazing men, really amazing people because you're dealing with Chad who has a 3-inch penis and a lifted diesel. Fuck you, Chad. Fuck you, Chad. I'm telling you right now. You deserve better. You deserve better, and I hope you fucking hear me when I say you deserve better. So a couple tools that you can take with you when dealing with a fuckboy. Number 1, recognize patterns. Read the writing on the wall, sis. Read the writing on the wall. Have you ever heard the phrase, if he wanted to, he would? Have you ever heard that phrase? Because it is so fucking true. It is so fucking true. One time I had a boyfriend, literally he lived in the same city as me. And like, I didn't live in a big city. Like it was like, he lived across town. It was maybe a 10-minute drive. And he literally would only hang out with me on Tuesdays because he didn't want to drive across town to hang out with me on a day that he also had to go to work. Like it sounds so ridiculous. And then I met my amazing husband, Sean, and he lived over an hour away from me. At one point, I had moved away. We had met when we were closer, but then I had moved away. We were like kind of long distance. I was over an hour away. And I shit you not, he drove almost every single day over an hour after work just because he wanted to see me. Just because he wanted to see me. So I'm telling you, those men are out there. But if you're dealing with these fuck boys that only hang out with you on Tuesdays and fuck the first girl they meet on campus, like, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. So number one, recognize the writing on the wall. Recognize the red flags. Stop, putting on rose-colored glasses and reading the red as green. You're only hurting yourself. And honestly, the only other piece of advice I have here is cut it off. Remove yourself. Block. You deserve consistency. You deserve somebody who is obsessed with you. Like, not in like a weird, like that movie Obsessed with Beyonce way, but like, I would drive over an hour every single day to see you kind of obsessed. Okay, moving on. Number 2, this is also one that's super common. I know a lot of my girls have felt this. The miserable friend vampire. The miserable friend vampire. I fear a lot of us know this one. A couple traits that I wrote down here to kind of explain, to describe, if you will, the miserable friend archetype is constant negativity. Oh my God, the constant negativity, constant comparison, gossip, drama, woe is me, always talking about themselves. You guys, just what a miserable person to be around. And like, trust me, I have some amazing friends. But again, just kind of like the fuckboy thing, like if you're spending time with the friend that is like just a miserable bitch all the time, it doesn't allow you to open up opportunities to meet new friends that are great and are different and like give you a new perspective of like, oh, actually, like I don't have to be around people that just like bitch 24/7 about literally nothing. So a couple tools to help you deal with the miserable friend if you're dealing with one. First and foremost, this is completely contradictory to my fuckboy advice. My first piece of advice on dealing with a miserable friend is to have a conversation. Sometimes people just go through bad seasons, and we need to allow people the grace to grow. We need to allow, especially if like that's your friend and like you love that person, like we need to allow them the opportunity to change and to get better. And sometimes like they just need that person to look at them and be like, dude, what are you doing? Stop doing that. Stop it. I have a friend that I love dearly, near and dear to my heart. I love a friend. And she and I had a conversation about this not too long ago of like, come on, girl, please. So that would be my first piece of advice, is just allow them the opportunity to grow. Have a conversation with them, especially if they are a friend that you say is near and dear and you love them and you want to keep them around as a friend. I think that they are owed a conversation. After this conversation, if this behavior persists, start limiting your access. Just take a step back, just remove yourself for a minute, especially if this friend is going through something, a hard time or whatever that's contributing to this kind of toxic behavior that they're exhibiting. Sometimes just taking a step back and letting them work on their shit privately. And then we can come back in 6 months or a year and see how we are, how things are, if we've grown together, if we've grown apart, and we can kind of reassess. So limit access for a little while and circle back in a couple months. Another tool you use with the miserable friend is to redirect convos in real time. If you notice that they're being negative, or if they're gossiping, or if they're having that woe is me mentality, take that opportunity to redirect the conversation into something else. So let's say it looks something like this, like let's say you guys are talking about school and she starts bitching about, her math teacher. Try switching the subject to something outside of school. Yeah, I know, like Mr. Shellick's class freaking sucks, but how are you and your boyfriend doing? What's going on there? And then if she starts again, things with Mike are terrible. He's just a fucking asshole and like I just can't stand him. Oh, okay. Well, did you finish The Summer I Turned Pretty? What'd you think of the finale? Just keep trying to redirect that conversation. And if they keep on and they keep on, then again, this is a good opportunity to be like, dude, like everything that comes out of your mouth right now is just like negative Nancy. Like, are you okay? Is there something you need to talk about? Because I'm just trying to have a nice, lighthearted conversation with you, and everything you say is negative. What's the deal, man? And the final tool I'm going to tell you is really the same for any energy vampire that you're dealing with, which is set boundaries and limit access. And sometimes that's the only way people respond to you is by removing yourself. Sometimes that's the only way, especially depending on what that person's like, what they're dealing with, kind of the mental shit that they've got going on. Sometimes that is the only way, is to just walk away. Just because they're miserable doesn't mean you have to be. Okay, a couple more vampires just to keep you guys thinking. I'll kind of run through these ones fairly quickly. Number 3 is the roommate vampire. I never had a roommate like that. Like, my only roommate was Sean, and he's always been a great roommate. But I have heard horror stories of roommates that, like, don't pick up after themselves. There's dirty dishes piled up in the sink. They clip their toenails on the living room carpet and just leave their toenails everywhere. They bring their boyfriend over at 2:00 in the morning, and their boyfriend's friends over in the middle of the night, and they're partying in the living room. I've heard the horror stories, and they sound awful, because your home should be your sanctuary. You should come home and feel at peace. It should be your safe space, not your stressful space. So if we're dealing with a challenging roommate, whether it be their cleanliness habits or their social habits, a few things that we can do is, again, have conversations. Maybe we put a chore chart together. Maybe you leave a budget on the fridge so they know, like, when certain payments are due, of like, I need the utilities on the 2nd or whatever. Maybe you have conversations about, like, visitor shifts of when is an appropriate time for visitors to come over, when should visitors leave, things like that. And again, if a conversation doesn't take you anywhere, it's time to remove yourself. Pull back. Find a new place to live. Break your lease. I don't know. Get out of it as soon as you can. Your home should be your recharge zone, not your crime scene. And finally, the last example I want to give today is the boss vampire. Yes, if you haven't had a toxic boss, you are lucky. You are lucky. I've had a couple toxic bosses in my day, and I do kind of have an interesting take on this energy vampire in particular that I'll share here in a moment. But I have had a couple of different boss vampires, and some of the common traits, first and foremost, micromanaging. God, the fucking worst. I had one manager one time who would, like, time block my schedule for me. So it's like I didn't have ownership over what I did all day. Like, I couldn't decide at 9:00 I was going to check emails because they had time blocked my time off for me. So micromanaging, awful. Everybody hates it. If that's you, if you're a manager and you are micromanaging, stop. Stop. Everybody hates you. Stop doing that. A toxic work culture. If you are in a toxic environment, if you are in a hostile work environment, that's a common trait of a boss vampire. There's a common saying that says people don't leave businesses, people leave people, and that's so true. People don't leave just like their job. People leave managers most of the time. Another trait of a boss vampire is constant criticism, constantly critiquing. You are never enough. You can never do it right. Even if you do it right, it's just silence. Like, they don't give you positive reinforcement or positive feedback. It's just everything you've ever done wrong. And then if you do it right, and then everything you've ever done wrong, so a boss vampire can be tricky. And when I said I kind of had like an interesting take on it, here's what I mean. And don't worry, I'm going to give you tools here in a second to like deal with a boss vampire, but just like hear me out for just a second, because I do feel like a boss vampire is different than other energy vampires, and let me explain why. Like a fuckboy vampire or a friend vampire, those are optional relationships. You opted into that relationship. You chose to be friends with that person or to hook up with that person. That was your choice, right? A lot of times we don't choose our boss. In fact, most of the time we don't choose our boss. We're trying to get a job. We are put into this role and it is what it is. So a boss vampire is tricky because there is a balance between toughing it out, building character, building grit, getting that work experience, understanding what it's like to work with challenging people, working for challenging people. So like there's that aspect of it'll grow your professional development. And then on the other side of it, it's like at some point, the paycheck and the experience and all of it is just like not worth this. It is not worth the price that I'm paying in my peace of mind for the paycheck or the accolades or whatever I might be getting in return. It's just like, it's not worth it. And I don't know how to tell you which is which. You're just going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to write it out, because I've had a couple different bosses like this, and I've had bosses like this where like they were just tough. Like they were just tough bosses, and like I built a lot of character by working for those people and understanding what it's like to work for like tough, strong-headed people. And then on the other side of that, I've also worked for people that are just miserable bitches. Not worth it. The pay of my emotional energy is not worth the pay that I'm receiving on my check. So I can't tell you. You're just gonna have to figure it out as you go and discern the best you can. A perfect example of this, to kind of tie this in a nice little bow for you, is The Devil Wears Prada. Now, if you haven't seen The Devil Wears Prada, this will not tie it in a nice little bow for you, so sorry about that. But the ending of The Devil Wears Prada, when Andy, she's getting a call from Miranda and she throws her phone into the fountain, right? And she walks away. I have seen that movie like more times than I can even tell you. And I, to this day, cannot decide if she made the right choice or not at the end. Like sometimes I watch it and I'm like, yeah, fuck her. And then other times I watch it, I'm like, man, if she would have just stuck it out. Like if she would have just stuck it out for like a year, she could have any job she wanted. She could have any job she wanted. Ever. So I think that that's a good example of kind of what I'm referring to here with specifically with bosses. Like I said, this doesn't apply to fuckboys or your friends, but with your career, there is this question of how much of this is building grit and building resilience and building professional strength, and how much of this is just wearing on my internal self, just wearing on my patience and on my mental and emotional energy. You'll have to decide, but here's some tools to help you do so. First and foremost, document everything, every single thing, every text message, every email, everything. Document it all. Put it in a folder on your phone. Put it in a folder on your email. Print it out if you need to. But document everything, because there ain't nothing like having some receipts. Ain't nothing like having receipts. Number 2, set professional boundaries. This is hard. I've done this successfully, and I've also done this not successfully. So I would love to circle back on like professional boundaries and even just still like having mental strength and in terms of your career. Try to set some professional boundaries and try to let them know, what is appropriate and what's not appropriate in the most respectful manner that you possibly can. Number 3, make sure you know what your HR options are. Speak to HR if you need to. And last but not least, if you have exhausted all your resources, you tried talking to this person, you tried setting boundaries, you talked to HR, you've done all you could do to try to rectify this, well then, yeah, maybe it's time to start looking at an exit plan. All right, so wrapping up today's episode here, our common denominator is there are a bunch of different types of energy vampires, and all of these different vampires drain your energy a little bit differently. But it is ultimately your responsibility to protect your peace, regardless of the type of vampire you might be dealing with. You have to protect you first. And that is the commonality across all vampires. Across all of them, you have to protect yourself first. protecting your peace is necessary. It is necessary. Some other tools we talked about: limiting our access, stepping away from people when we notice that they are draining us of our energy and not replenishing it, maybe taking a few months from that person, recognizing patterns, recognizing red flags, recognizing the writing on the wall, and not being afraid to read it. Not being afraid to read it. Having a conversation, especially if it's somebody that you care about. Conversations are owed sometimes. Sometimes people just need to know the ways in which they're not showing up for you. Setting boundaries. Letting people know what is appropriate, what is not appropriate, and what you will tolerate and not. And finally, last but not least, removing yourself. Sometimes that's literally your only choice. Sometimes that is your only choice. But it's effective. I'll tell you that. It's very effective. So as you listen to today's episode, who in your life popped into your head as we talked about energy vampires? Who from your life are you like, you're kind of draining me? And do you need to block that bitch or... No, but for real, what do we need to do about that? Do we need to block them? Do we need to walk away? Do we need space? Do we need a conversation? What do we need? What do we need to do with that person in our own life that is draining us of our emotional, mental, or spiritual energy? All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Remember to protect your peace. You only have so much energy in a day. Don't waste it on someone who doesn't give a shit about it. Come back next week for another episode of Someone Should Know. I'll see y'all then. Bye, y'all.
I want you to know, someone should know, you're not alone.